Proper joint health is all about the ratio of tensions between the muscles that connect to that joint. So a really common example of this is that if you've got tight pecs, pulls your shoulders forward, you're going to experience impingement symptoms because your joint's not in the middle, so you've run out of space to move your shoulder. You've put the muscles on the back on a stretch, they've gotten weaker, these have gotten tight, so you're getting pain all over the place. The problem is that most joints in the human body aren't just being pulled forwards and backwards by one or two muscles, they're being interacted with by muscles all around the joint in 3 dimensions. If you've got the ratios wrong in terms of the tensions that they're exerting on that joint, it's going to move the joint and you're going to experience pain. If you get the tensions exactly right, the joint's going to sit right in the middle and it's going to move really freely. So if we take the shoulder, for example, it's not just the pecs and the rhomboids in terms of protraction, retraction. You've got to think about the lats, you've got to think about rotator cuff, serratus, biceps tendon, deltoids, traps, levator scap. All of these muscles are exerting a 3-dimensional pressure in terms of pulling the joint into a different position. So how do we work out the correct ratios between all these different muscles? Well, we've got the perfect blueprint, which is natural movement. If you can take the arm through a natural throwing pattern, and you can train all the muscles in that fashion, you don't need to worry about exactly tweaking individual isolation exercises because you've got the correct ratios in that movement. Same thing goes for the hips and the knees. If you cue a gait-based movement with the correct positions, it becomes a corrective exercise because all the muscles that interact with those joints are going through the movement that they're designed to do in coordination with each other.
I'm going to take you through an exercise that I like to call the chiropractor. It's effectively a self-induced manipulation around the pelvis and the lower back, and it can resolve an awful lot of different lower back dysfunctions. If you're squatting and deadlifting regularly, you're likely to experience some kind of compression around your SIJ, your sacroiliac joint. And this is a great exercise to relieve that, but it's also a fantastic way of training the glutes, as well as a whole wide range of muscles. The sacroiliac joint itself is the fulcrum between the upper and lower body. It's interacted with by tons of muscles, and they're all going to get targeted in this exercise. So it's a really, really useful one to resolve that issue. So, I like to use 2 kettlebells. The weight should be a little bit offset. It just makes the ratio of tension between different muscles a little bit, it makes it feel a bit nicer basically. So if we stand a decent stride away from the wall, I've got heavy kettlebell in one hand, light kettlebell in the other. I'm going to put the heavy kettlebell side foot against the wall, and I'm going to stand in a way that makes my knees approximately level. I'm going to push back into that wall really hard, so my glute on my left side is firing, and my hip flexor and quads on my right side is firing. With this side, with the heavy kettlebell, I'm going to turn it in so that my thumb is pointing between my legs, and the lighter kettlebell is going to stay on the outside with my thumb pointing outwards, so they're pointing in opposite directions. From here, I'm basically just going to do a hinge on the one leg, pushing back into the wall really hard. Classic hinge mechanics, keeping the lower back in check, avoiding hyperextension, avoiding rounding, keeping my belly button in, staying nice and tall through my torso. On the other side, I'm actually going to row with this lighter kettlebell, so I'm kind of thinking about a bow and arrow. So as I hinge down, I'm pulling back on the light kettlebell as I reach towards my foot, and you can see that's going to force a lot of rotation. As I'm interacting with the floor and the wall, my pelvis is stabilized, so all of the rotation comes from the rib cage and the thoracic spine. Doesn't take too many reps if you adhere to all those different cues to really feel the burn in the glutes. And like I said, I've seen really, really good results from people suffering from SIJ dysfunction, but also a whole range of lower back issues.